I play piano, and I play not super great, but I have the potential to be great if someone taught me some things. Because I do know where all the notes are on there.
Sure.
And I can play a couple of my own on piano.
That's lesson number one.
Yeah.
Knowing where the notes are.
But I'd like a little guidance on it because I'd like to bring it into my set at some point.
Absolutely. That would set you apart pretty dramatically.
That's how, yeah. And it is a goal of mine, and a very serious one. It's been on the top of my list here recently. I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can get something rolling coming into this next year, because I will be playing full band at some point soon. And I definitely want that to be a part of it.
Yeah. That definitely would set you apart. I know that Bonnie Bishop does that. She plays piano.
Yeah.
And fairly well, comping herself. She's not a virtuoso soloist or anything like that, but she comps, and it's a great element. It's a visual element as well as aural element. You know, to it. That's a thing that I think a lot of people get lost in realizing that what you're doing on stage is really, to me, it's only 50% music, and the rest of it is making sure that people are enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is visual. A lot of people sit down on a stool when they're playing. I try not to do that unless I'm doing the loop pedal stuff. I kind of have to. But if I'm just singing, like, I know that you stand up and you move around and you have your little props that you put on the microphone and the things like that. All that is so important, I think. And then if you have a piano sitting down with its own mic, you can go physically sit down at the piano.
Change the mood for a minute.
It changes everything. It changes the just for everyone. Everyone just kind of goes down with you, and you do your song. And I think that stuff like that is so important. And if you have the faculty to do it, which you do, there's no reason not to.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that would be a great addition to what it is that you're doing. And I think a piano would accompany your voice really well.
It does. I mean, when I was playing piano before I started playing guitar. Mm-hmm. I started teaching myself when I was like 7 years old. Mm-hmm. And I actually was going to tell you that a while back. I remember I told you I wanted to talk to you about some music stuff. That was one of the things I was going to talk to you about.
Yeah.
See what you thought, and because I know you play. Mm-hmm. And I don't know a lot of people that play piano, but you're one of them. But that's been on my list of accomplishments that I want to get done. It's been there for a while.
Well, that's not an unreasonable idea, for sure. It's pianos are cheap these days, good enough pianos with good electric, Worley and Rhodes sounds and piano sounds on them. They're not very expensive. This one that I use right here, this MX49, was only a couple $100, but I use it as a MIDI controller through Logic and Pro Tools.
Very
so
cool.
I download sounds and then play the sounds on the keyboard. So it's not an expensive keyboard, but the piano sounds are Yamaha sounds, and the go-to grand piano sound is the motif, the big gray full-size motif, and it's got all the motif sounds on it.
Oh,
and
really?
So when I bought
for a couple $100?
It was $200 or $300 used, and for that, I was playing it live because of that. I would bring it out to my solo shows and plug it into my loop pedal and do all that kind of stuff, and then I got way more into organ style. So I bought a Nord to play organ on.
That's a good piano.
It's a phenomenal piano.
Is it red?
It's red.
I've played one of those when I was in my Christian rock band.
Yeah, that's what's in this big long road case right here.
Yeah, I used to play one in my Christian rock band. Mm-hmm. So I was doing it in high school too. For two of the songs, we'd start out, I'd just be on piano, and then the band would come in. But it was a red Nord.
Yeah. All Nords are red.
I didn't know that.
And they
Very
are
cool.
And they are phenomenal. It's one of the best keyboards out there for the money. It's kind of the industry standard. Most touring players use them. There's a model called a stage Nord, which has synthesizer sounds, piano sounds, electric piano sounds, organ. It's got all of them, and it's really expensive, and they're second to none in terms of overall sound quality. So the one that I've got is an electro, and it's more organ based. But I love it. It's a phenomenal keyboard. And I have a Leslie cabinet that I actually had to send off today to get fixed. The motor busted so the speakers don't rotate.
Dang.
I know. It's just dumping money into this nonsense.
It's not nonsense, though.
It depends on who you ask. It depends on if you ask me at the right time of day. I thought it was nonsense when the guy was giving me a quote on how much it was going to cost to fix it earlier. I was like, you just keep it. I don't need it that bad, but I want it, I guess. But there's no rival sound that sounds any better than an organ with an actual physically rotating speaker, though. I played last night at a place that has one that just lives in the place. It's an original B3 in the big wooden cabinet with a wooden speaker that wrote like the original 60s model. And I played on that last night, and I just went, oh,
that's awesome.
This is just what it's supposed to sound like. It's just everything that's been emulated since then, the Nords and the Rolands and the Korg, everything that everyone thinks is so good is really good until you sit down at a real one, and then you go, oh, okay, this is what it's supposed to sound like. It's very obvious the difference between the two. So I don't know.
That's really a good comparison. What was I going to say? My granddad, the way you just described the organ thing, my granddad, that song we recorded, I Never Go Around Mirrors, he showed up to Lefty Frizzell's doorstep with it on a demo in like 1967.
Yeah.
And then Lefty cut it the next day. Now Lefty tried to sing it just like my granddad did.
Yeah.
And then after that, then everybody started doing Lefty's version, or what they thought was Lefty's version, what was really Whitey's version. And then they're finally going to be able to hear it on this record. So I think it'll be the same feeling that you just described. Like, oh, this is what it's supposed to sound like.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. There's a lot to be said for that, especially in terms of singing styles and writing styles. I think I mentioned earlier that you have to come into your own voice and come into your own style.
Yeah.
And everything obviously is going to be derived from the amalgamation of things that you like. And it has to be that way, or else you'll never know what you like, and you'll never know that. But once you figure out yourself, then it's exactly like that, where this is what it's supposed to sound like, because it's coming out of you, because it's a song you wrote. You're not trying to be, whoever. You're not trying to be Leanne Womack or whoever. You know what I mean? You're being you. And,
right.
And then when people hear that versus they hear you doing a cover song, maybe you're copying the melody and you're copying the feel. And
it's not the same as if the writer did it.
Not at all. And I draw a very solid and thick line between cover songs and original songs in the setting that we were talking about earlier, in the restaurant setting, where people aren't necessarily there to see you on purpose. They're catching you inadvertently. I try to do one and one. And I do a very eclectic mix of music in general. But in my solo shows, I know so many songs. I'll just kind of throw stuff out there just to see if I can get someone to turn around on one of those specific type shows. But I try to do a cover and original back to back, one and one and one and one for the whole night. And I will often find that if I do a real emotional original song that I wrote after a very emotional cover song that I will sing,
then they'll pay attention.
They will turn around on the original song.
I've done the same strategy before.
And they won't turn around, and I'll think I'm nailing Cover Me Up or some really emotional, loud singing type of song. And then I'll do one of my own that's like that I feel is just as emotional for myself, and I'll get a reaction out of it, and it's like people recognize that. They recognize something that's real.
Yeah.
And something that is very obvious that it means something to me, even though to me it sounds kind of the same because I sang both songs, in kind of the same way. But there's something that happens like that. I think all of those things go together. People recognize that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like Lori McKenna's version of Humble and Kind. Tim McGraw did it. But her record just came out. It was Dave Cobb produced. And when it's amazing, by the way, everybody should go listen to it. But that song, when you listen to it, and you've heard the Tim McGraw version, it's totally different.